Let's see the division of positive as well as negative numbers. Before we go ahead with the division, let's look at a simple multiplication. 2 multiplied by 10 equals 20, that is 2 tens are 20. So when we say 2 tens are 20, what does it mean? It means if we take 2 10 times, we get 20. Or we can write the same thing using a division like this. 20 divided by 10 equals 2. That means if you make 10 parts of 20, you get 2 in each part. Or I could write like this. 20 divided by 2 equals 10. That means if you make 2 equal parts of 20, you get 10. So what does this mean? This means that when we look at a multiplication, we can write that multiplication as a division. Why? Because division is the opposite of multiplication. Division is the inverse operation of multiplication. That means whatever you do for division, that is the opposite of multiplication. That means if I see some multiplication statements, then looking at those statements, I can write corresponding division statements, right? So let's see some divisions where we have positive and negative numbers, and based on that multiplication, we can write corresponding division. Here are the rules for multiplying positive and negative numbers. We have learned this when we learned the multiplication of negative numbers. So let's look at the rules and do some simple multiplications. The first one is this: 2 multiplied by negative 10 equals negative 20. 2 is positive and negative 10 is a negative number, and therefore the product is negative 20, which is a negative number. So if I have to write this multiplication as a division, that means if I have to do the opposite thing, how would I write that? Let's look at the above example where we had positive numbers. What we did there was we divided 20 by 10. That means we divided the product by the second number in the multiplication, and then we got the first number. So let's do the same thing here. Divide negative 20, which is the product, by the second number from the multiplication, which is negative 10, and then you will get 2, which is the first number. The next multiplication is negative 2 multiplied by 10 equals negative 20. Again, let's do the same thing. Divide the product by the second number in the multiplication. So you get negative 20 divided by 10 equals negative 2, which is the first number from the multiplication. Now let's consider another multiplication. In this case, both the numbers that we multiply are negative. We have negative 2 multiplied by negative 10 equals 20, which is positive 20. Again, we will write the division statement, which would be the opposite of multiplication. So we write like this: 20 divided by negative 10 equals negative 2. Now if you look at all the division statements, that means all the 4 divisions that we have written one after the other, you can look at these statements and come up with rules for division of positive and negative numbers. I have written the rules here. If you look at the first division, 20 divided by 10 equals 2, you can see that if you divide a positive number by another positive number, then the result is positive. If you look at the second division, negative 20 divided by negative 10, you get positive 2. That means a negative number divided by another negative number gives us a positive quotient. This is the last rule I have written here. Negative divided by negative gives us positive. The third division is negative 20 divided by 10. That means a negative number is divided by a positive number, and the result is a negative number. This is the second rule I have written here. Negative divided by positive equals negative. And the last division is 20 divided by negative 10. That means a positive number is divided by a negative number. That's the third rule here. Positive divided by negative gives us negative quotient. So these are the rules for division of positive and negative numbers. But how does this work on the number line? Does it work on the number line? Let's take some examples and check it out. The first one is the most easy example. Both the numbers are positive. 20 divided by 2. So 20 divided by 2 means make two equal parts of 20. So let's look at the number line. 20 is here and we have to make two parts of 20. So if you make two parts of 20 from 0, it looks like this. Now you can see that each part is of 10. When you divided 20 into two parts, every part was of 10. And we know that the answer is 10. So you can see this is how a division works on the number line. Now that you have seen the positive numbers, let's take an example where there is a negative number, negative 20 divided by 2. So what do we do here? We split negative 20 into two equal parts. We divide means we split it into two equal parts. So on the number line, negative 20 is here. And if you split this into two equal parts, starting from 0, it will look like this. So you can see that every part is of negative 10. There are two parts, negative 10 and another negative 10. These two parts give you negative 20. So the answer of this division is negative 10. And now if you look at the rules, second rule here, a negative number divided by a positive number gives you negative quotient. So that rule is correct. You could see that on the number line. Now let's take two negative numbers. Negative 20 divided by negative 2. Now how do you make negative 2 parts of negative 20? In this case, we consider the other meaning of division. One meaning of division is that you make equal parts. The other meaning of division is like this. You think, if I make a group of negative 2, how many such groups fit in negative 20? If every group is of negative 2, how many such groups would fit in negative 20? So let's find out how many negative 2's are there in negative 20. On the number line, negative 20 is here. And starting from 0, if you make groups of negative 2 like this, how many such groups would be there? There would be 10 such groups. So negative 20 divided by negative 2 equals 10, which is the last rule here. Negative divided by negative gives you positive. Let's take one more example like this. Negative 20 divided by negative 10. Now how are you going to think here? You are going to say, how many negative 10's are there in negative 20? Or you can say, if each group is of negative 10, how many such groups fit in negative 20? Again, on the number line, negative 20 is here. And you have to make a group of negative 10. So when you make such groups, you see two groups. There are two groups of negative 10 that make negative 20. So your answer is 2. So negative 20 divided by negative 10 equals 2. That means the rule you learned is correct. So here onwards, what you can do is you don't always have to draw the number line. You can simply use these rules, ignore the sign, do the division, and once your division is done, then looking at the rules, you can give the appropriate sign, the correct sign to the result. Let's solve some practice problems. The first one is this, negative 48 divided by negative 8. If you ignore the signs, it's like 48 divided by 8. 8 6 are 48, so the answer is 6. And in this case, you are dividing two negative numbers. That means the answer is going to be positive. So the answer is positive 6. Positive 6 means 6. Or if you want to imagine the number line, you can think like this. How many groups of -8 would fit in -48? How many such groups would fit in? 6 groups of -8 would fit in -48. The next one is this, -35 divided by 7. Ignore the signs. So 35 divided by 7 equals 5. 5 sevens are 35. But you are dividing a negative number by a positive number. One negative, one positive. That means your result is going to be negative. So the answer is -5. The next one is 35 divided by -7. Again, ignore the signs. So the answer will be 5. And you are dividing a positive number by a negative number. So the answer is -5. If you look at both of these divisions, what do you see? You can see that the answer is the same. So what it means is that whether you divide -35 by +7 or +35 by -7, you get the same answer. That means in case of a division, if one of the numbers is negative, it doesn't matter whether the divisor is negative or the dividend is negative. That means whether the first number is negative or the second number is negative. If one of that is negative, you are going to get the same answer. It does not matter which one is negative and which one is positive. As long as one is positive and one is negative, you are going to get the same answer. Let's solve the next problem. 0 divided by -9. 0 divided by anything is 0. So it doesn't matter whether you divide 0 by a positive number or a negative number, you are always going to get 0. So 0 divided by -9 is also 0. Now the next one is -17 divided by 0. What do we do here? It's not allowed. It is not allowed to divide by 0. Whether it is a positive number or a negative number, you cannot divide by 0. So division by 0 is not allowed. This was a tricky question. Another thing to remember is that 0 is neither positive nor negative. 0 does not have any sign.